General, in the course of the testimony by General Sabo before this commission, he made certain allegations touching on your person, particularly policy matters, by virtue of the fact that you held a position as the Chief of Army Staff for about 3.5 years. Would you want to react to all that General Sabo has said?
Yes, I will.
Please go ahead, General.
Thank you. My Lord, this is my reply to Brigadier General I.S. Sabo's submissions in his answer to General Diya's petition touching on my person. I have heard Brigadier General Dr. Ibrahim Alaji Sabo.
Has it been tendered?
Well, my Lord, I have
Has it been tendered? What he's going to read?
No, my Lord.
Well, let's tender it first, then he read. I don't say he wouldn't read. Mark it as an exhibit, give it back to him to read. What exhibit would that be? Yes, what exhibit? 5-7. All right, read.
General Dr. Ibrahim Alaji Sabo's evidence to this commission and have witnessed his cross-examination by my counsel. Instead of addressing the allegations made against him by Lieutenant General Diya in his petition on the 1997 coup, he chose to come to this commission not to say the truth and to say nothing like the truth, and has continued his campaign to destroy my image, which he started several years back. No wonder most of the issues raised by against me by General Sabo are the same as contained in the document titled Activities of Major General Ishaya R. Bamaiyi, Chief of Army Staff, that are inimical to this administration and Nigerian Army image. This document has been admitted as Exhibit 30 in this petition. It should be noted that Sabo at various times denied knowledge of this document. For example, AVM Idi Musa and Sabo were invited to my office, that's the office of the Chief of Army Staff, when I was Chief of Army Staff, where I confronted the two of them with the document. Both AVM Idi and Sabo denied knowledge of the document. I therefore directed Sabo as the DMI to investigate and submit a report. General Sabo, who I may hear after, referred to as Saint Sabo, prepared and submitted to me what he called a preliminary report of his investigation, in which he denied knowledge of the contents of the letter, but not without observing that, I quote, "There is no iota of doubt that the petition aims at destroying the person of Chief of Army Staff and bring into disrepute the institution he represents. The personal nature of anonymous letters against senior officers of the armed forces has introduced a dangerous trend capable of compounding military issues with attendant national security implications," unquote. He also concluded by stating that, I quote, "The motives and strategy of the authors are condemnable from the standpoint of well-being of the Nigerian Army and national stability." Sabo's preliminary report is Exhibit 46 in this petition. In this exhibit, he denied knowledge of the document, Exhibit 30, and at the time of submitting this report to me, he asserted that it was the handwork of my enemies. This document, together with the handwritten document titled, I quote, "The documents are here. Let them extract the relevant parts that are still valid and go ahead," unquote, form the basis for Sabo's retirement and subsequent arrest and investigation by the SIP. At the SIP, Sabo claimed he was under directive by the late CNC, General Bacha, to make the publication in order to divert my attention to the defense of my tarnished image. My attention was to be diverted because I was against the self-succession plan of General Abacha while in uniform, and I said so. As a Nigerian, I would have supported his nomination as a presidential candidate under any political party and would have voted for him if he had survived and stood for election. My contribution as the Chief of Army Staff towards the attainment of a sustainable democracy is contained in the document titled Military Initiative, Exhibit 25. On the other hand, General Sabo, the CDI, and others held a meeting and submitted a report to General Abacha in which the Chief of Army Staff, myself, was discussed at length. Specifically, it was alleged that the Army said nothing about General Abacha's self-succession plan and that I was a danger to all. Please see paragraph 2B, page 2 of Exhibit 26. This much was admitted by General Sabo himself. It is therefore clear that while I was working hard to ensure democracy in Nigeria, that is without compromising my duty to the nation, loyalty to the Commander-in-Chief, and above all, ensuring the attainment of a high level of professionalism in the Army. General Sabo and the so-called security operatives were working to counter my efforts toward ensuring the entrenchment of a sustainable democracy. As it turned out to be, however, and for obvious reasons, I am today being incarcerated, and General Sabo and the likes of him are the direct beneficiaries of what we have, through the grace of God, put in place. May I hasten to add that it is a different thing altogether if the desired result from a democratic setting is not being achieved. That is a subject of another discourse entirely. Ordinarily, I should not join issues with my subordinates. However, in this kind of situation, where an individual has taken it upon himself to give a picture of General Bamaiyi as nothing but evil before this honorable commission, I will urge the commission to also accord me a similar opportunity, not to castigate any individual, but to put the records straight. Brigadier General Sabo, as an officer who served in the Nigerian Army for over 20 years, ought to have been familiar with Nigerian Army policies as laid down by terms and conditions of service officers, the Army Act, and the Armed Forces Decree number 105. He, however, decided to be mischievous and untruthful, even under oath, and he has allowed his personal hatred for me to becloud his sense of responsibility and duty to speak the truth to this nation at this forum. This is unfortunate. As a mortal being, I do not claim perfection. However, I know that the wrong I have committed that has earned me such a wicked and dirty campaign of calumny is nothing but my insistence that things must be done according to laid down rules in the Army and the need to ensure discipline that is the foundation of any army. May I say, with all sense of modesty and respect, that as former Chief of Army Staff to General Sabo, General Sabo was not a loyal and disciplined officer at all. Before I take on the issues raised by General Sabo in his evidence, I wish to state that I have no means of ascertaining whether or not General Sabo had the mandate to speak on behalf of those whose names he mentioned in his unrelentless bid to tarnish my image. I therefore hope that these people will not hold me responsible for any embarrassing revelations that might ensue in the course of my response. Retirement of officers. The terms and conditions of service states clearly how an officer of the Nigerian Army can leave the service. The Chief of Army Staff cannot retire a commissioned officer from the rank of second lieutenant. Whatever reason for which an officer is to be retired, there must be a memorandum presented to the Army Council, which is always headed by the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The memo is usually discussed and sometimes argued upon and a decision taken. This is well known to Brigadier General Sabo. Let me touch, for example, on the officer Brigadier I.A. Sabo claimed I retired so as to continue as Chief of Army Staff. I have never asked, campaigned, or lobbied anyone to make me Chief of Army Staff. I heard of my appointment first on NTA. It is the ambition of every officer to reach the peak of his career. I thank God that by his grace and not malams or marabouts, I reached the peak of my career and retired voluntarily. I never had the intention of remaining in service after serving for over 35 years. Jan A. Abubakar is aware that I had handed my application for voluntary retirement before May 29, 1999. Retirement of General L.A. Onoja. Brigadier Sabo, out of mischief and in order to slander my person, told this commission that I retired General Onoja, who was, according to Sabo, a threat to my being the Chief of Army Staff. This is far from the truth and ridiculous. By the time Onoja was retired, I was already Chief of Army Staff and could therefore not be competing with Onoja for the office I was already occupying and had occupied for over 2 years. Major General Onoja was retired for financial misappropriation. He was the principal staff officer PSO to General Diya, who was responsible for state's administration. Money was collected for distribution to the states. When the check reached General Headquarters GHQ, the CGS directed Onoja to pay the check into a GHQ account instead of paying the